It's officially the Walker Harris era in North Carolina Central, and I have the pleasure of being joined by Harris himself to break down what he learned from Davius Richard and how the last 3 years have prepared him for this exact moment. Oh yeah, it's locked on HBCU. Play my music.
You are Locked On HBCU, your daily podcast covering HBCU sports. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, family? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On HBCU podcast, your number one daily one-stop shop for everything HBCU athletics, Monday through Friday, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And I, of course, am Darian Gray, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, Texas Southern alum and former TSU Herald Sports editor and current contributing writer at USA Today's Saints Wire. Thank you for going on this journey with me, making Locked On HBCU your first listen of the day every day. And remember, just because the mic cuts off does not mean that the journey is over. Just means it's time to follow me on Twitter at South Exclusives. Starts with an S and ends with an S. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $20 off your first purchase. Now, Walker Harris, it is his time with North Carolina Central. He will be the leading man in the backfield at quarterback after waiting his turn patiently. Let's break down the last 3 years and how they've looked for Harris being behind Davius Richard, some of the other pieces on the team that make his job so much more easier. And then also we wrap it up with a look at what does Central look like with Harris at the helm from Harris himself. Okay, Walker, so you are the new starting North Carolina Central quarterback, but the majority of your time at Central was spent as a backup. So I want to tell that full story from start to where we are today. So we're going to focus a little bit on those backup days briefly before we get to where you are today, right? And over the last 3 years, you're talented. I hear everybody say it. Everybody says, man, Walker Harris is like a starting quarterback, but you had to sit for 3 years. Was that ever difficult for you at times to sit down and say, all right, I'm not playing, but I know where I want to be?
I mean, yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, everybody wants to come into college and play right away. That's everybody's goal. When people are out picking a school, getting recruited, a lot of guys think that, or a lot of guys, what they try and do is go to the school where they're going to play the earliest, right? My situation was a little bit different. Coming out of high school, Central was my only Division I scholarship, so jumped at the opportunity. Came new Pee Wee from last year. I was excited to come in and compete, really. So I came in, and Davius Richard. I mean, obviously everybody knows about Pee Wee, the animal beast. So yeah, first year started the second game. Pee Wee got hurt that first game, so the second game I started. So that's my first college football game ever. Was the second overall game. So that was an experience within itself, but I can definitely say that I wasn't as ready as I wish I would have been. I mean, I was young. I was a little pup at the time, so that's just that's how it was. And then that second year was when Pee Wee really took off. Pee Wee became a premier quarterback at the FCS level. So my mindset was really just compete with Pee Wee as much as I can. Iron sharpens iron. I live by that. So in my mind, I'm doing everything I can to take Pee Wee's spot. And, with his spot being as solidified as it was, it just made me work harder. That's kind of how I looked at it. It just made me work harder. And then when my opportunity does come, make the most of it. Make it hard for coach want to pull you off the field, really.
And go ahead. Sorry.
No, you go ahead. No, you go ahead.
So I've heard this before. I was listening to a Cam Newton interview when he was at Florida. He was behind Tim Tebow. Right. And you know who Tim Tebow is. In a way, it's very similar to where I see you today. Hopefully, Cam Newton and that type of success is upon you. Right. But he was like, man, I always felt like I could go be the starter at Florida if I wanted to. And it's one of those things where from the outside looking in, people may feel like, oh, well, he's behind Davius Richard. So that makes it easier because at least he knows he's behind a legend. And Richard definitely is a legend. But does that actually make it easier to sit down when you say, okay, at least I know I'm behind somebody great?
Nah. Nah. You never want to, because I feel like that is just kind of like complacency. You know, I told myself I never wanted to feel complacent. I never wanted to get comfortable in the situation I was, because at the quarterback position, you know, those 3 years, all it could, thank God it didn't, but it could have been one play and I would have been in there. So no, I definitely want to say that was the mindset. It was never to get comfortable or complacent. It was always just every day just trying to get better, really.
Yeah, and as it should be. But the day and age of the transfer portal, it's very easy once you start believing in yourself and like, all right, I'm ready to be a starter. You could have easily said, all right, Central is the person who, or the team who gave me this offer coming out of high school, but I feel ready to go somewhere else and get my chance. But you didn't do that. Why not?
You know, I think coming from high school to college, one thing that I really learned, what I really thought was valuable, especially in a college football program, was just the culture. You know, I don't know if you see my shirt, culture over scheme. You know, that's something that we really live by here at Central. So it's not just about what you're doing. It's not about just the player that you are. It's about the person that you are. And then on top of that, it's about how are you going about your day-to-day work. You know, what's your culture in your day-to-day? When it's at Tuesday in February or May or March or whatever, when the season's not here, what is your day-to-day schedule looking like? How are you moving? How are you operating? What are you doing to get better that day? So that had a big part of it too, that culture that we have, and that's on the whole team. That's from top to bottom from the program. And then you know, also, man, shout out TC, our strength coach. He pushes the culture. He pushes. He's a huge part of the culture here. I mean, every day he's pushing it. He's challenging you in everything that he can do. So that's a big part of it too. And then also, really the biggest part was the coaching staff. You know, coming out of high school, only Division I opportunity. So that obviously that means a lot to me. This program, this university means a lot to me. But that coaching staff, man, Coach Leone, Coach Leone, he's a guru. I've never had a question that he hasn't had the answer to. I've never asked to watch film and him be like, "Nah, I don't have the time today." And that's kind of like how I'm a nerd about football. You know, like I'm always trying to. I don't do a whole lot outside of football, for real. I'm not gonna lie. Like I'm trying to do ball. I'm trying to play ball. I'm trying to watch film. Whatever I got to do, because you know you only get one shot at this football thing. Once your clock is up and you didn't make most of it, then that's on you. So I'm trying to make the most of it. So with Coach Leone always being there, coaching me, and he coaches me hard too. He coaches everybody hard. He coaches me hard. He's not. We have a saying: the standard is the standard. So if we doing anything that doesn't live up to the standard, that's a problem. It's not okay. And so with Coach Leone, that was a huge reason why I stayed, because I trust him. I love him. I mean, that's my coach. So and then with Coach Oliver as well. There's not another coaching staff I want to play for.
You mentioned about you only have an X amount of time, right? I was curious, with your eligibility, did you get a red shirt that first year or at any point in your time?
Yeah, I did get a red shirt that first year. So I graduated high school 20, but that 2020 season obviously was COVID. So that was a free year for everybody. And then we came back 2021. I redshirted that year.
Okay, I thought so.
So 22 was my redshirt freshman year. Yes, sir.
Okay, so you should have 2 years of eligibility after this, correct?
Yeah, I got it this year and next year.
That's what I thought. Right now, one last question about the backup days before we start moving forward is I'm an interview guy. Like I really do enjoy to watch those. So I was watching a Joe Burrow interview, right? And he talked about his time at Ohio State, where he spent, I think, 3 years as a backup before moving on to LSU and becoming the Burrow that we know. But he talked about how when he was at Ohio State as a backup, it forced him to be just one of the guys. And then once he became a starter, it was like, okay, well, I'm not changing that mindset. There's no idea of any kind of special treatment or anything of the sort. Was that a similar experience for you, spending time as a backup and now becoming a starter?
No, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, obviously being the backup, the pressure of being the starter is not there. But like I was saying earlier, like I knew my time was going to come. And the main thing for me was when my time does come, I don't want to have to change who I am, change how I move, change how I work, change how I operate. Because I want to be the same person that I am that redshirt freshman, that redshirt sophomore year, as I am right now. So no, I want to say that. No.
Now let's move forward, right? Let's look at the fact that you are about to become a starter, and let's look at the guys that you're throwing to, because stepping in from the backup role, do you have a lot of experience throwing to these players that you're now throwing to as a starter from years prior?
I mean, yeah. I mean, you look at our roster, we got a lot of guys returning. So guy that obviously sticks out, Joaquin Davis. You know, me and him, we came in together.
Right.
So we've been working out. We've been locked in since we got here. That's another guy. He work his tail off every day. And that's the guy that's in my class. Also Andrew Smith, the guy in my class. Chauncey Spikes, Daryl Taylor. These are all guys that we can play on the outside. Who am I missing? That's the thing, man. We're deep. We're deep at receiver, man. From the slot, man. You thinking about Markel Quick, Chance Peterson, real route runners. We got Makai Wall. Shoot, man. And then, you know, from a quarterback perspective, your best friend is your running back. And, you know, I think we got the best running back in probably FCS football, honestly. Jamar Taylor, man, that man can do everything. He can run the ball in between the gaps. He can go outside. He can catch the ball. He can make anybody on defense miss. He's a problem. So that's and then, I mean, shoot, let's talk about the running backs. We got Jamar Taylor. Then we got Chris Mosley. Problem, fast. Boy's fast. He can move. Then we got AJ Rogers, that's our thunder. That's our thunder back. He gonna run. He gonna run you over. So we got weapons. And then tight end. Shoot, let me just talk about everybody. Shoot, tight ends, man. We're deep at tight end too. We're deep. Starting off, we got Luke Bracey. He's a problem. He's a problem in the blocking game. He's a problem in the passing game. Kyle Morgan, problem in the blocking game. Problem in the passing game. Miles Campbell, problem in the blocking game. He's fast too. Miles can run. He can move. We got Javon Lavelle, another older guy. That's a great athlete. Great on his blocks, great on his routes, great hands. Shoot. Yeah, man, that's really about it, man. We got ball players, man. We got some guys that do something with the ball when we get it into their hands.
Now, I told you before this. However we going, right? So we were going to go to supporting cast and pieces on the team a little bit later, but how about we just do that in segment 2 as we continue with Locked On HBCU. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app right now. If you haven't done it already, download the app ASAP. Now, with that, you can go to a North Carolina Central game. Matter of fact, if you're in Miami, you can go to the Central versus Alabama State game. You can go to the Orange Blossom Classic if you're in the area. Matter of fact, Gametime will allow you to do it at the best prices out there. They have zone deals. They have flash deals. I love the zone deals because sometimes I know around where I want to sit, but I may not know specifically. They're saying we're going to get you the best deal. Just tell us the area. Get us the area and we'll put you on a specific location at the best price possible. There's no one that's going to beat that. There's no one's going to make that as easy as Gametime does for me and also can do for you. So if you want to go to a Central versus Alabama State game, maybe you want to go to a Panther game, maybe you want to go to a Miami Dolphins game because Alabama don't have a professional sports team. But like, if you want to go to any of these games, just go ahead and go to Gametime and look up the area, or look up the prices for you on any event in your area, whether that's football, basketball, college athletics, or even if it's a theater play. All you have to do is download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $20 off your first purchase. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. It's the official sportsbook of the Locked On Podcast Network. And right now, through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers, let me say that again, all FanDuel customers will get a 3-week trial free of NFL Sunday Ticket through YouTube and YouTube TV. The only thing you have to do is put a $5 bet down. Seems pretty simple to me. You're already using FanDuel, but go ahead and make a $5 wager. And now here you are, 3 weeks free of NFL Sunday Ticket. The game is on the way. This is something that you are not going to want to miss. I don't care if it's, maybe you want to go on some season-long stuff. Is your favorite cornerback going to have 3 or more interceptions or whatever the over-under is on that player on FanDuel? Maybe your team win totals. If you just want to go small and get immediate, week 1, here it goes. Win-loss, yardage, all touchdowns, everything in between. It's on you. Go ahead and go to FanDuel.com. That is FanDuel.com/lockedon. And if you get a $5 bet, all you have to do is do that, and you will get 3 weeks free of NFL Sunday Ticket. As we continue rolling on today's episode of Locked On HBCU, I am appreciative of everybody who made this your first listen of the day every day. For your second listen, make sure you're checking out Locked On College Football to break down everything on the FBS level with Spencer McLaughlin, whether that is conference realignment. We're going into week 1. We have a bunch of new teams in new conferences. Let's see how they turn out, and we can listen to the breakdown by Spencer on Locked On College Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Right now, I'm joined by North Carolina Central quarterback Walker Harris, and we love the talent and we love the skill players at Central right now, right? You mentioned one guy, Jamari Taylor, who I think he's kind of similar to you in this way, where you're both stepping into bigger roles than you were last year, right? No Davius Richard, no Mookie Collier. Now it is Walker Harris and Jamari Taylor. What is that tandem feeling like stepping into 2024?
Man, it feels good, man. It feels good. We came in. It's another guy. He came in a year after me, so I got 1 year. I'm in 1 year in front of him. But man, we've been rocking out for a while now. Me and Jamari, we're locked in, man. I know what he likes, and he knows what I like. Pass protection. He's locked in on pass protection. I mean, shoot, man, that's my guy. That's my guy.
And one thing I really have to credit Central for is their ability to recruit, because we pay attention to the 2019 class, right? That's Richard. I think Mookie might have came in. I think he was a transfer, but I think he came in that year as well. Yeah. Then you look at 20, we got you. We got Joaquin Davis. We have, is it Smith? I think Smith came in with you that year too, right? Yeah. So you're looking at a lot of, and then you got Jamari Taylor the following year. So we got to give Coach Oliver and the crew a lot of credit for their ability to recruit players that just keeps going. And I honestly, when going in, I lost where I was headed with it. But let's talk about those guys with Smith and Davis. How does the relationship work? Because you did come in together. You guys probably have been tight forever. Does that immediately lead to chemistry on the field now that you're going into your first year as a starting quarterback?
I think what's going to lead into success is just the work that we put in. You know, it was never like, shoot, man, I say like during the summers, man, like every day we're out there throwing, we out there watching film, like it's whatever it is, we always been working. And that was even when it was clear who the starter was. But we were putting in that work because, I always wanted to be ready. So I was trying to get in throws with guys who was going to be on the field. So, I think that chemistry is not going to be the problem.
And you speak about the offense. You look at Leone. He's been called one of the up-and-coming offensive coaches in the FCS level. I know you agree, right? Yeah. How has he made you a better quarterback?
Man, first of all, I think Coach Leone, he probably one of the best coaches in the country, truthfully. And man, how he's made me better is just how he pushes me. He knows how to coach certain guys, and I'm a guy that as much as I love this, as much as I put in film, as much as I'm putting out working on the field, like he knows how much I want it. He knows how much I want to be successful, how much I want the team to be successful. So he's on me every day. If the standard's not the standard, if we're not living up to that standard that we talk about, he's going to talk about it every day. He's not going to take no days off. He's the same person every day, whether he's sick, whether he's tired, whether he's shooting. And sometimes he just don't want to go to work. But you'll never know that. You'll never know that working with Coach Leone. He's been a blessing for my game, in multiple different ways. And then just the knowledge that he has too is just it just runs so deep. There's never, like I said, there's never been a question that he hasn't had an answer for. I'll ask him about a look that we probably never even seen before. But I was like, what if something like this were to happen? He's got the answer right away, or he can draw it up and he can explain it to me. Like, he's just one of the smartest dudes I've ever been around, honestly.
And you also have Coach Oliver as the head coach, as the HC. He had a quote that I read, and I thought it was a little bit interesting. I want to see what you think. So Coach Oliver has said, I think that you'll be fine once you settle in and realize you don't have to do too much. Where is that balance in your mind of knowing, okay, I can just do this. I don't have to take care of every single area. I just need to take care of this.
Right. I mean, shoot, at the end of the day, football's football. And being in the offense as long as I've been has been such a blessing because, I know the checks and I know the looks and I know everything that we need to do. For me, I feel like going back to the guys we have around us, I just need to get the ball to my playmakers, really. Like every play doesn't have to be a 60-yard bomb from the opposite hash like as far as doing too much, I think that's kind of what he's talking about. We got guys that can be special, and all they need is the ball in their hands. So that's really my thing. I'm just trying to get the ball to my guys' hands, let them go to work.
And when you're looking at Oliver, you've been here 3 years, you know him well. What's a story that's like, okay, if I had to describe Coach Oliver in one story, funny, serious, whatever, what is that one story that you would describe to say this is Coach Trei Oliver?
Shoot. I don't know. I'm gonna need some time on this one. I don't know. That's like Coach Oliver. He's another guy, man. He's the same person every day. He's the same person every day. He wants to win, and then when we're not living up to the standard, he's gonna call us out on that. Funny story. I don't know. I mean, if you ask him, he'd probably tell you about the time that he beat me in putt-putt at the dang Frankie's little park. That'd probably be what he talked about. I don't know. I'm gonna have to think on that one a little bit.
We're gonna give you some time. Right? Let's see. Your tight end room. I think that's one thing we didn't hit too much. But when you're looking at tight ends in this offense, how much do you think you'll use them as far as maybe midfield, maybe middle of the field, and then also middle of the field and width, and middle of the field as far as depth? How much you think you'll use those guys?
Oh shoot, I hope we use them a whole lot. We got a lot of talented guys in that room, so we need to get the ball in their hands as soon as we can. But really, man, with our tight end room, they make our offense go. Whether it's running the ball, or passing the ball, they make us go. They do I think they probably have one of the hardest jobs on the field. You think receivers all they gotta do is run routes, and they block on the perimeter. And you think of the O-line, they blocking in the trenches. Now you got like a hybrid kind of guy that's got to go block in the trenches. You got to block these DNs, got to block these 3 techs. And then now they got to go one on the route versus safety. I think that within itself is just is ridiculous. So our tight end room is loaded. We're talented. I'm excited for him.
And then I want to now lean back into who you are, how the offense changes, what it looks like under you from your POV. So let's do that as we wrap up today's episode of Locked on HBCU. That's wrapping up today's episode of Locked on HBCU. I appreciate you for making this your first listen of the day every day, making it all the way to segment 3. And I thank you 2 times for that. At North Carolina Central quarterback Walker Harris. And we've looked at the supporting cast. We've looked at your experience as a backup and how it's molded you. But I think there's one part I didn't ask that's important. How has that time as a backup helped your maturation as a quarterback?
Tremendously. Watching that, especially watching how Pee Wee operates, how he moves, even in the game, being cool, calm, and collected, just things like that. Just picking up on little nuggets whenever I can. That's been a huge development for me.
So now that you go from Davius Richard, right, to Walker Harris, what is the stylistic difference that fans should expect to see going from one quarterback to another?
Shoot, man. You're probably not gonna see Walk taking off at 60, running 3 guys over, spin move off of 4 other guys, and stiff arm somebody to the ground and then go score out. It's not necessarily my game. That's not necessarily. I'll go get you 10, 15 yards, but it's not necessarily my game. I make the pocket my home, and I sit back there and I just kind of try and get the ball to my guys.
Now you had a game versus Central. You had a game versus Valley.
Yeah.
What did that do for your confidence? I know you didn't love your first game that you had as a true freshman, but this game against Valley, you lit them up, right? Yeah. So what does that do for you going into this season as you can reflect on a quality game that you played as a starting quarterback against HBCU competition?
It was great. That whole week was a great week leading into it. We had a great week of preparation, great week of practice, firing on all cylinders. I mean, we knew what we wanted to do with Valley. We knew they like to go to cover 0 a lot, so we knew the checks that we wanted to get to. And then, as far as that, something I've always told myself as well is like, you practice how you play. If you do it in practice, you're gonna do it in the game. So that whole time leading up to that, before I even knew I was playing, I've been practicing like I've been the starter, practicing like I'm in the game. So it's like telling me that I'm starting that week is just all right. Now I'm just gonna be playing and do what I do in practice. So, and that goes back to the guys around me, the connection I have with all the guys. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think Joaquin had 2 tuds. Chauncey had 2. I can't remember who had the other one, but yeah, that just goes back to the chemistry that we have and the work that we put in throughout these past few years, really. So that was a year accumulation of work right there. So
You had that. Well, first off, how early in the week did you find out you were for sure starting?
Because the week before we had played UCLA and Pee was nursing something, so I played most of UCLA. Probably by that Wednesday, Thursday, maybe. I'm not really sure.
Okay, so not a real full week completely.
Like, practicing, I was getting like the ones on Tuesday. I was getting like the reps on Tuesday, but we were still waiting to see what was going to happen with Pee Wee. So I think that around like Wednesday, Thursday.
So comparing that Tuesday to the rest of the work week for you, how much different is that week where you're coming in as a starter, just kind of as a replacement for a week, versus knowing you're the full-time starter? How different are those weeks of preparation, in your opinion?
I mean, really, like I said, it's really not that much different. When you're a backup and you're preparing like you're the starter versus when you are the starter. Those weeks really match up. I said the only difference is really the amount of reps I'm getting. I go in there and I'll probably get double to triple the amount of reps. But in terms of just like the feel of it, the feel of the week, it's nothing really different.
Yeah, I guess that comes from just preparing always. If you always are mentally the starter, then I guess once you physically become the starter, it's not anything too different. But lefty, right? So you're throwing with the left hand. Ain't nothing new for you. I'm sure you've been throwing with the left your whole life. But what's the difference for everybody around you from going from right hand to left hand? I've never experienced that, so I'm curious.
Shoot, I mean, you asked them. It's probably just the way the ball spin, really. It's nothing too much. As long as you put it on their chin, they're gonna catch it. It's probably the way the ball spin.
Okay, I was always curious to that because people talk about left hand, and I don't know if it changes protections, and people say, oh, well, the blind side is now this side, and then the way the ball looks. So I appreciate it because I was always curious on that. Personal goals going into 2024. What are your personal goals for yourself? Obviously, you want to have some team success. Obviously, you want to win the MEAC, you want to win the Celebration Bowl, you want to do all of those things. But do you have any goals for yourself of I want to achieve this, or I want to feel like this by this point in the season, or something of that sort?
Man, really, I'm just trying to get that championship. Whatever I gotta do to get that championship. And I feel like too, we get that championship, everything in between is gonna fall. It's gonna fall into place as long as we're taking care of what we need to take care of week to week. Those personal goals they'll come by themselves. They'll come by themselves. I think Pee Wee's a great example of that. Every week Pee Wee went into to that game week preparing for a win, preparing for a championship. And you've seen how everything in between just kind of fell into place for him. So I'm kind of going that same route. Really just worried about the team, worried about where the offense is at, worried about what we need to do to get better. That's really it. I just want to be the best leader I can be. And when my time is on the field, play to the best of my ability.
And I'll ask you a couple more questions before we wrap up. You talked about Davius Richard, and you mentioned it a couple of times, so I can tell you guys have a good relationship. Has he given you any advice as far as, okay, now you're going into the starting role, this is what you should expect, this is how you should move, anything of just like, hey, this was my experience, I want to give this to you and tell you about it?
Shoot, probably. No, I mean, considering the amount of questions that I've asked in the past few years, he ain't really had to tell me too much.
Yeah.
We both know what it is.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Why recap when I was here? I lived it all. I talked to him. I know everything he went through. And then last question, man. You've played in some games. You started a few. Now you're going into your first year as a starter. All of this experience that you've had, you're probably one of the most experienced first-year starters that you'll have in college football in this sense. Does that eliminate nerves? Or there's still a little bit of nerves going into the Orange Blossom Classic?
Man, I'm just ready to put the ball down. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm just ready to put the ball down. Nerves are there, but if you prepare those nerves, those are just the natural nerves that you get from a game. It's not really nervous. It's not the word I would use because I feel prepared. It's just about putting the ball down.
It's funny. That's why I was telling my girlfriend the same thing about how you do interviews. I'm nervous until it come in. I was nervous in the mud coming into this interview, but then once I set it up,
yeah,
ain't no more time to be nervous. It's not any time to be nervous. But I appreciate you. Walker Harris, first-year quarterback, long-time praise. Coach Oliver's been singing your praises for at least a year and some. I know it's probably been more private than public, but publicly it's been for the last year or so. So I wish you the best of luck. I'll see Sunday, Miami, Florida, Orange Blossom Classic versus Alabama State. So once again, good luck to you. Good luck to your team. And I appreciate you for coming on. I appreciate everybody for listening. Hope you guys have fun in the chat doing a live stream. Until the next time that we hear each other, family, take care. Stay blessed. Peace. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy, and I can give a very personal testimony of somebody who wishes that he had a 5 Hour Energy. I was at lunch today, or as I worked today, and after lunch, I absolutely hit a wall. Me and my coworkers were all lethargic, all moving slow. It was like, man, the day needs to get over. Unfortunately, today was not one of those days in which I had a 5 Hour Energy. I've been in this same situation before, and I was able to go ahead and take a shot of that, and I'm done. I'm good for the day. All of that hitting the wall, it's over. So you go ahead and go to 5 Hour Energy. That's the number 5 Hour Energy. Go ahead and pick you up a product, right? 0 sugar. You can have it in a convenient portable size. It's a perfect type of pick-me-up for the same situation that I'm speaking about. And you have flavors such as watermelon, tropical burst, grape, and also berries. So go to 5 Hour Energy. Once again, that is the number 5 Hour Energy. Pick you up an energy product and use the code LOCKEDONCFB in all caps to receive 20% off your first order. It's only valid until September 30th, and it's also not available with other promotions. Go to 5 Hour Energy today and pick up your order.